Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuinei.
Awesome. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Say No to PPO podcast. I am your co-host, Jordan Comstock, and we got our other co-host, Ben Tuinei, on the line. Ben, how you doing, man?
What's up, Jordan? You know, people always ask, why do you guys act like you haven't seen or talked to each other in months when you do the intros? I guess it's important for people to know you don't actually work together.
We don't work together, no.
Jordan's in his office. I'm in my office. You know, some days I'm in my pajamas. Some days I'm in my underwear. You just never know.
Nobody knows. Nobody sees us, right? No. So, yes, we usually when we talk to each other, it's mostly on the podcast. We do talk to each other every once in a while throughout the week, but this is when we get to talk to each other on our podcast. So that's why we talk like we haven't talked in weeks.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we have an exciting guest on our show. Her name is Hilary Tien. She's a practice consultant for Provere Practice Management. She has been in dentistry her whole life, a lot like me. It seems to be, what was it, our conversation before, generational. Every time anyone has a family member in dentistry, it seems like other family members follow. And she started when she was 6 years old. And I'm wondering what you did at that age, Hilary, at 6 years old. What did you do in the dental office?
She started packing cords, seating crowns, all the fun stuff.
Doing some composites, no big deal. I've grown up in dentistry my whole life. Father's a dentist. I got a brother at the University of Michigan in dental school. Nice. Another sister that's in hygiene school. So just part of who I am. But yeah, I started when I was 6. My dad used to have me come into the office and stuff his cotton roll dispenser.
That's awesome.
With gloves on. We were OSHA compliant. And then I started assisting actually when I was about 14, and I used to get so excited when patients would call my dad on the weekends with emergencies because it meant I could go sit chairside with him.
Wow.
So I've pretty much done everything in a dental office except for, a dentist and hygienist, but I worked the front desk for quite a while. I think I was about 14 when I called my first insurance company regarding some unpaid claims, and I literally remember reconciling my dad's end of the month books for him back when he still was using his paper ledger and paper appointment book.
I remember those days with Manage My Dad's Lab. He had paper everything. It drove me crazy.
I know. I don't know how they did it.
I don't know either.
But so I ended up going off to college at the University of Wisconsin, and I applied to dental school and medical school, and I did get in to both. Cool. But I graduated from undergrad in 3 years and couldn't really decide if I wanted to be a dentist or a medical doctor. So with some encouragement, I went and pursued a master's degree in health administration and figured no matter what route I chose, I would need to know something about business side of healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I realized, when I was in getting my master's degree, that it was really more of where my passions lied. So I stuck with the administration side, and after grad school, I got married and followed my husband kind of around as he pursued some degrees. So I worked in ortho offices, as an ortho assistant, treatment coordinator, office administrator. We moved to North Carolina, and there I worked for a perio practice, and then
nice,
a very large group practice, and eventually made my way back here to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where now I've been with Provere Practice Management for about 6 years. We're just a really small group in West Michigan, based out of Grand Rapids, that we basically assist dentists in anything administrative or business. We really encourage dentists to do what they're trained to do, to just be clinicians and let us focus on other aspects of practice management.
Very cool. Yeah. So what are your roles there at Provere? What do you do day in, day out? Yeah.
Probably everything.
Whatever they ask you to do.
I mean, yeah, it's very much like you would see in a dental practice. An office manager kind of wears a lot of hats. So I do everything from OSHA audits to helping with insurance, creating policies and procedures, reviewing consent forms. Sometimes I'm an IT person and hopping on trying to fix intraoral cameras.
Very cool.
We just try to alleviate a lot of the headaches that dentists really shouldn't have to deal with. So
I have a question. You went to Wisconsin. Go Badgers! And you live in Michigan. You're from Michigan, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So are you more of a Go Badger, Go Blue? Are you a Spartan?
I mean, this is probably horrible to say, but I have always been a Michigan fan, but
that's okay.
So I went to Wisconsin, but I got into University of Michigan, but decided to go to Wisconsin because I had a full ride academic scholarship and was like, well, should probably go there so I don't have to pay for it. But it's funny, I used to have tickets to the football games, season tickets as a student, and I used to go there and stand and watch the board as they scrolled across what the scores were, and I'd stand there and wait for the Michigan score and not even watch the Wisconsin game. So then my business mind got smart and started selling the tickets to make a little profit.
There you go.
Nice.
Well,
but
that's
I am
cool.
a Green Bay Packers fan, wholeheartedly. So
yes. Packers all the way. I'm a true Packers. I'm probably the biggest Packers fan outside of the Midwest. I'll tell you.
That's funny.
I'm glad to hear that. Those of you that don't like the Packers, grow up. Or good luck, I should say. The Packers are just going to slaughter everybody this year. But,
amen.
Well, that's good. So go Packers and go Blue. I have a lot of friends out in Detroit. One of my mentors is out of there, and we watch a lot of Michigan games. And my wife's from Georgia.
Who's one of your mentors, Ben? If you don't mind me asking.
Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert. He owns Quicken Loans, 50%. Yeah. I think he's the majority owner of that. But he owns companies like Rock Financial. He's a majority owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And we did all of our training in Livonia out there just outside of Detroit. So I quickly
very cool.
became a Go Blue. This was like back mid 2000s when Michigan was just slaughtering Michigan State every game. And I had some friends playing at Michigan State, some kids that were behind me in high school that went off to play in the NFL. And so to this day, whenever I see them, I always say Go Blue, just to piss them off.
Well, you have to.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. If somebody's wearing a Florida shirt, and my apologies to all the Florida Gators that are out there. My wife is from Georgia, and so Florida and Georgia have a game every year when they play. It's always at a neutral site. It's in Jacksonville at the that Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium, and they refer to that game as the world's greatest or largest outdoor cocktail party. And that's because outside in the parking lot is much more important than being in the game, because that's where everybody's getting rowdy and getting drunk and being just completely vile against each other, and but anyway, I love sports. Sports is on the horizon for many of us. A lot of us are seeing our first football games here tonight and throughout the weekend. So
cool.
Best wishes to everybody's football team. So Hilary, want to get into some insurance stuff. I am surprised that at age 14 you made your first call to insurance.
Yeah.
In some way, somehow, you came back. I would have been like, screw this industry. I'm not going to work in the dental industry with insurance. Working as a clinician maybe, but not with insurance. It's kind of like my nephew's going through law enforcement. He's going through police academy right now. And I've been through police academy for Maricopa County, the sheriff's department, over 10 years ago in Phoenix as a college job.
Oh, and that's right. I remember you told me that.
During the first week, they show you videos of police officers getting slaughtered. It is just a sad, horrible, terrible training for you. It's a survival training for you to really know what the job is all about. Exactly. And it was kind of sad. The first day, half of the class was gone. Some of them left right there. They're bawling, just emotionally and physically couldn't handle watching what they were playing. And my nephew just went through that training, and I warned him about it. I said, you're going to go through that training. It's a survival training, and it really is a test to see if this job is really for you to look at the worst case scenario. And Hilary, when you were 14 years old, you were engaging in the worst possible aspect of a dental practice, in my opinion, which is dealing with insurance carriers. And I say that from the perspective of an untrained mind. Like 14 years old, you probably didn't know much. When I first took my first insurance job, I took it as an executive at the highest level. And they put me right into credentialing. They said, learn how to do this, but my job was to figure out how to negotiate. And I started to have second thoughts about why I took this job on the first day. So Diana
on the
front,
first day.
Yeah. So Diana up front, I'm in the back, in the back unpacking. Diana comes to the back and says, Ben, United Healthcare is calling about a credentialing issue. I was like, what's credentialing? And I walk up front and she just hands the phone to me, and they were asking everything about MPI, tax ID number, DBA, DEA number, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is all about. So I had to wing it. But they were so rude on the other end that I thought, if I have to take another call like this and I don't know what I'm talking about, I am going to suffer through this for the next few years. So tell me about, like, when you started, what was it like? Like, in terms of how you evolved into what you emailed us about doing the insurance auditing process. Walk us through that, when you first started, and over the years, how you came to create an insurance auditing process.
Well, I mean, insurance has evolved since I've been doing it. There's a lot more requirements than there used to be when I first started at 14, because you couldn't even submit claims electronically. But, what really has prompted me to do the insurance auditing is I noticed that there was basically steps that you do to process any sort of insurance. And the big way I learned this was by being a practice manager at a practice in North Carolina. There were multiple insurance coordinators, so I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I evaluate these employees? I don't even know if they're doing the right thing. So I'm just going off of what their peers are telling me. So I started creating basically a checklist of what it is, the steps that you need to take to process an insurance claim correctly, as a way to evaluate job performance and responsibilities. And it wasn't necessarily a thing to do to slap hands or tell them they're doing it wrong, but basically just to help them, assist them in, policies and procedures, and set up processes for a practice at that time that would make it easier and for payments to come in faster.
Right.
So that's really kind of how it came to be with insurance auditing.
Right. So in your email, like when you mentioned that bullet point thing, items, the data service going all the way. I don't know if you see that in front of you, if you remember it. Data service, correct provider assignment. Essentially, what you did and discovered is that there's got to be a better way to troubleshoot insurance processes in the practice, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I know you've talked about this in your previous shows and even written an article about policing the insurance companies, but I started to notice that there were specific insurance companies that were delaying payments or sending denials for reasons that, we had attached things correctly. We were providing what they were asking for. And so it almost became a way, too, of auditing my insurance companies, making sure that they were doing the right thing. But yes. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of issues with just insurance companies, like what Ben's article says, about policing insurance companies. I think that's so essential because they seem to always try and find ways around things, as far as I can tell. But why? I have another question for you, Hilary. Why should why should practices conduct audits, and what are some of the benefits of doing these audits?
Yeah. I mean, so one of the biggest reasons that I think, first and foremost, is it sends a message to the staff. If you, as a doctor or as a doctor directing a manager, say, you know, I'm going to start to randomly audit some of these claims and ledgers, I think it sends a message that you care about working ethically, and that you also want the best for your patients. And by that, I mean, you know, if you aren't auditing and you're doing incorrect write-offs or not sending claims properly, you know, I don't think you're working on behalf of your patients. But there's a lot of reasons. Another big reason is the Office of Inspector General, OIG, what it's abbreviated. It's basically a department within the Health and Human Services Department, the federal department.
Yeah.
And they actually say that criminal penalties can result from reckless or intentional conduct in regards to billing and coding. It doesn't, specifically say what those are, and it does say that, innocent errors aren't subject to criminal violations, but I think that's a big reason. And Ben, you probably might even know more about that, because I know a lot of insurance companies are now requiring providers to complete specific trainings in regard to that sort of compliance.
I think it's kind of funny that the insurance companies enforce that, say, oh, you can get in trouble, by law, but like back to Ben's article, policing, who's policing the insurance companies? It seems like they're getting away with a lot of things in the industry, and nobody's holding them accountable to certain regulations or laws.
Yeah.
It's my mindset.
What I'm about to say next is going to upset a lot of the dentists that are out there, because a lot of the dentists that are out there do support and work with these organizations, but when you look at where the money flows, who defines the CDT, and who pays to define who owns the CDT, number one, and then who pays to lease the CDT in an effort to build their book of benefits for their patients. And so, those organizations out there that collect money from the insurance industry are highly incentivized to make sure that there's a balance in the relationship in an effort to keep the money coming in. That is just my opinion on it, is that in the end of the day, there could be a lot more policing and advocacy going on. And there's a lot of advocacy that goes on in dentistry that many of us don't even know about by the organizations that are out there. I'm not going to name any of them, because our goal is not to discount what those organizations do. But when it comes to pure advocacy against insurance carriers, with what you're talking about, Hilary, really it just boils down to the individual practices getting involved with the right regulatory agencies. So the Office of the Inspector General, the federal laws and requirements regarding coding are very steep that apply to dental offices. When you intentionally miscode, and a good example is, years ago, I had the misfortune of not knowing that one of my partners, a dentist, was committed on a felony because he billed Medicaid for patients that were already dead, that passed away.
Oh, boy.
And when you look at that, when it's consistently performed, he had his own argument that defended himself, and I heard his argument out, and I thought it was sound. But I also understood where the judge was coming from. The fact that when you bill for patients that have passed away, and you consistently do that, that of course is intentional fraud. When you bill for patients that, like transient patients in hospitals and ERs, this happens a lot in medical, where offices are billing for transient patients that don't have a social security number. The name is probably not correct, but the government pays, and the government is cracking down on all of that. So all the crackdown on auditing, unfortunately, is only affecting the dental offices. So there are institutions out there that go out and enforce coding issues, and these days, I don't know if this is a partnership or not, but it seemed like when that McCarran-Ferguson Act was passed back in 1945, which exempts insurance carriers from antitrust, that was a partnership. To me, I viewed that as a partnership between the government and the insurance industry. Now, I don't want to create like a conspiracy or anything, but I just kind of felt when I looked at that, I thought that was really fishy, that the government would partner with the insurance industry in an effort to contain the cost of healthcare. Look what happened since then.
Yeah.
It didn't solve jack.
Yeah.
I'll save the cuss words for later, but anyway, the enforcement is on the dentist, and the insurance carriers are the ones that are enforcing it.
True.
And the thing that doctors don't know is that you can also enforce and report fraudulent insurance activity. A good example, and I bring this up quite a bit, is when insurance carriers are flat out denying legitimate scaling root planning.
Yep.
And then they're saying, we don't see bone loss, we don't see attachment loss, we just don't see what you're seeing. Of course you're not seeing what they're seeing. You're not there to examine the patient. You can say whatever you want on the other side, but you have not physically examined the patient, which is the ultimate way of diagnosing a patient.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I had to go there on a rant.
Go off on a little tangent there. No, I think it was good. It was really good.
So back to Hilary.
Yeah.
So these audits, we all know the reasons why these are important, and for the reasons of there being repeated misuse of the codes, and when it's innocently done, you're correct. You're not subject to a violation. But when those are intentionally performed, there was a doctor, I'm not going to mention his name, but about 8 years ago in Michigan, this doctor was put away for 5 years. One of the complaints was overbilling or fraudulent coding. So it was a class 3 felony, put away for 5 years in prison. And coding was one of the mistakes that the office made intentionally. So outside of the liability issue, I mean, when you're looking at doing an audit, what's involved in that entire process? And we're speaking insurance, by the way, right? Insurance audit.
Yes. Yep. So what I do is I typically select a random 10 to 15 patients that were seen in an office in the previous month, and I take a look at their clinical notes and their ledger, and I basically go through a checklist of some items that should be there. So, for instance, was the correct provider assigned to the procedure? And that helps for a number of reasons. I have some practices where there's multiple providers paid on production or collections, and so want to make sure that they're getting the credit that they're due. But also, at the end of the year, I like to take a look at what percentage of my practice is hygiene production and what is doctor production. And sometimes a hygienist is credited for something that they shouldn't, or vice versa.
Right.
So I take a look at that, and I want to make sure that those are accurate. Another reason that that's important to take a look at that is because whoever is the treating provider goes on the insurance claim. So I want to make sure the correct treating provider is assigned to that.
Right.
The next thing I do is I basically check if the clinical notes match the ledger, and you'd be surprised how many times the clinical notes don't match the ledger at all. So a completely different procedure may have been done in the clinical notes than what's stated in the ledger, and then it goes out to an insurance company.
Then you wonder why it was denied.
Exactly. Yeah, or you get the EOB back and you're like, I don't even know who this patient is because it's in the wrong chart. Yeah.
How often does that happen? Is that common with what you're seeing?
Yeah, a lot, because lots of times the doctor relies on the assistant or hygienist to, say what they did and send it up to the front, and the front checks them out. So, there's one small kink in the chain, and it happens quite frequently, actually.
Can I just can I add something there real quick?
Yeah.
Completely off topic, by the way. And then Jordan and Hilary remind us to pull it back in.
I'll do my best.
When I was a sophomore in high school, my music teacher gave me a C. I earned an A, and on the report card she put A, but she reported C to the district. It took me even after graduation to get that corrected.
Yeah.
And so I go on to college, And one of the community colleges that I was taking a class at, they did the same thing. To this day, I still have a C where they gave the professor gave me 105% on my grade. And it's just so frustrating that those small mistakes, you know, I don't really care about that C these days, you know, because I felt like I've driven a very successful career since then. But those small mistakes are just such a pain in the rear, especially when it affects, you know, the patient and the person that's actually paying for treatment or getting the treatment and the benefits done. But and anyway, sidetracked on that, you know, to me, the audits are so important because in the end, the person that could be affected negatively are the patients, a misuse of the benefit. Yep.
Very true.
Yeah.
So so that leads us into the next question, Hilary. What are some major mistakes you consistently find with doing these audits?
I mean, I should say for the most part, for the offices that I work with, that the mistakes are made unintentionally. You know, the front office isn't trying to be malicious or anything like that. But oftentimes front office, whoever's doing insurance processing is bogged down by a lot of other stuff that's going on around them. So
they're just spread too thin, like what we
Yeah. But I mean, a big one is the procedure is not attached to the insurance claims. I know, you know, is it Tessa and Angie discussed that in one of your previous podcasts?
Yeah.
Yep, I see that a lot. Another big one is unsent secondary claims. And this is where I think that a lot of doctors are missing out on money that can be coming into their practice and patients that are missing out on benefits that they rightly deserve. So, you know, for example, if you are the practice and you're in network with an insurance company and the patient comes in for, let's say, a pro fee, because they're usually preventative and covered at 100%. And you get a payment showing that, okay, Delta did pay the 100%, but now you have a write-off because you're in network, so there's no remaining balance.
Right.
Well, the patient has secondary insurance, so technically you need to be billing that secondary insurance because even though you may be in network with Delta at a certain contracted fee, the secondary insurance might not have that same contracted fee and pay you even more than what Delta's contracted fee is, even up to your UCR, your practice fee. So I see a ton of that where secondary claims just aren't sent because the assumption is that, one, they think secondary isn't going to pay anything, or two, they think, well, the patient got their full benefit because that's what the primary EOB says.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
A good example is we know a lot of offices that simply never submit to the secondary insurance, and essentially what you're saying there is that the patients are not obtaining the benefits that they pay for.
Yeah.
And you know, another big issue is, I think an even more important issue is that when you're not auditing the dental office, the insurance department, and especially if you're not finding ways to effectively appeal those claims, statistically over half of the claims that are denied don't get appealed, or appealed once or twice and then they're written off. So insurance carriers know this. They know that statistically, if we send a denied claim, even if it's a legitimate claim, and they'll never, ever confess to that, yeah, we know it's legitimate, but they do.
Yeah.
But statistically, if they don't have to pay a claim, they can pocket the money. And so when you don't submit secondary insurance, if I have dual insurance and secondary isn't being used, it's just a waste. Why am I paying for it, essentially? But the patients don't know that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is the most unfortunate aspect of our industry as it relates to insurance, is that the responsibility is often viewed as the doctor's office responsibility to help you maximize your benefits. That's the assumption, right?
Right.
But at the same time, in my opinion, if you purchase something, you have the ultimate responsibility to figure out how to maximize it. But we as an industry, and not just dentistry, it started in medicine, that the minute they started to accept assignment of benefit, the patients then started to get lazy and can place
Yep, and rely on the practice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're going to handle my insurance benefits. That's great.
That's true. Yeah.
So when you're not, I mean, it's an added value. I call it an added value customer service area. If you can fully help patients maximize their insurance, knowing that it's an assistant towards payment, it's not necessarily going to cover everything. It's benefits
Right.
that they're paying for. It goes a long way in terms of building that image between you and those patients. You get referrals, you get great reviews on Google and other areas. But so those.
Well, and another thought too is I think insurance companies do a poor job of educating their customers, which is the patients, right, that are signing up for the services. And I think we can all learn a lesson there that even whether you're a dentist or not, educating the person that's buying your service or product is essential. And I think the insurance companies do a poor job at that. That's why there's so much confusion with patients when they go to the doctor, that they don't fully understand what they're really getting, right? So I think that's a huge issue.
Yeah, they just.
I think even like HR departments and companies do a really poor job of being advocates for their employees. Because a lot of them, are choosing benefits and plans that really don't make sense for their demographic of employees.
Yeah.
So
we are
good point.
We are in the process of converting over 20 million patients to a new dental plan that we've mentioned on this podcast many times before. And when we're doing the plan comparison for this new dental plan against what the employer already has, it's amazing to me that the HR departments want the very minimum. All they want to know is what the annual maximum is, what the cost is to the patient, what their contribution is, what the annual max is, what the class categories are, class 1, 2, and 3, and what coverage it is. Class 1 is preventative, 2 is restorative, 3 is major, and whether those are covered at 180 or 50%, and if ortho's covered. But they don't look at all the other limitations on the dental plan because when an insurance sends, when a PPO sends a packet to an employer, all it shows is just the highlights. But the fine print that you usually see in products, like on those TV commercials that we all fast forward through, if it's a drug, one of this is
at the
great,
end they're
it's gonna it's gonna change your life, cure diabetes or whatever. But there's a risk that you're gonna throw up for 50 days or you might die.
I just heard one. I just heard one on the radio today. They're like, this may cause severe diarrhea, and I'm like, man, and that doesn't sound fun.
They read through that so fast so that you don't hear it,
I'd rather have the other condition versus severe diarrhea.
You might die, but it's a good it's a good risk.
And,
the quality of life could be better, but you never know.
I'm like,
but that's what the employers are missing out on. When the packet, the 50-page packet on all the limitations of insurance, the HR departments don't read that because they know the dental office is going to take care of that. The dental office will manage all of the BS behind the dental plans. So
true.
That's why Hilary's here. So Hilary, you talked about all these different mistakes that offices are making when you're auditing. Outside of those things that you're looking for, what are the things do you look for when you're doing an insurance audit?
So I look a lot of times where there might be a credit on a patient's account, because oftentimes a credit occurs if there is an incorrect write-off.
Right.
So that's a huge thing that I frequently find, or sometimes there's even like a double write-off where a patient got a write-off for primary and secondary, but the payment from the insurance company plus the write-offs actually exceeds what you actually charge the patient for the procedure. So it ends up that the patient has a credit on their account.
Right.
That happens pretty frequently.
Interesting.
Incorrect write-offs just in general is a big mistake. So oftentimes people have a hard time reading EOBs. Insurance companies do not make it easy to figure out what the patient owes, what the provider should be writing off. And lots of times offices just aren't trained on how to read those EOBs. So I see incorrect write-offs a lot, or write-offs for insurance companies that the practice might not even be in network with, which is interesting, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I do look at denials. If there's been any previous denials on the patient ledger, I see if there's like a frequent habit that the insurance company has reason to deny the claim, and oftentimes we'll follow up with even previous denials that may have taken place if there was no appeal made. I do look as well for any sort of attachments or remarks on the claims to make sure that we avoid any sort of denials or delays in payments right away. The surest way to get paid is to make sure everything's attached and remarks are made correctly, so that the insurance company really doesn't have reason for a denial. And if they are denying it and you already made all those remarks and have the correct attachment, that usually is cause for me to escalate the appeal to an even higher power.
Right. No, I like that.
Yeah.
All of these things that you're mentioning sound like to me, these are all, they're not complicated, but at the same time, they're overlooked. Why do you think that?
Yep.
And I'd say every practice is a candidate for this. No matter how great you think you are, we always come across practices that there are inefficiencies in how claims are submitted, omitting codes, not having the right narrative, and the big one that you mentioned is writing the wrong notes and the wrong chart.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see that so many times. Why are these things happening, Hilary?
Well, I think a big reason is that
They're spread
a lot
too
of the
thin.
people spread too thin is a big one.
That's what first comes to my mind.
But also, I just think that there's a huge lack of education, and doctors aren't making any sort of investment in themselves or in people who are actually doing the billing and coding, to just get the correct training right away. Unfortunately, like a lot of times offices are short-staffed, and all of a sudden the assistant becomes, front office, and she has no idea what an NPI number is because she never had to chart that clinically. So I think that there's just a huge lack of education about these issues, and I think if there were more education, it'd be more like, preventative care in the dental office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what can a practice do to audit themselves? Is there like tools out there or systems or processes that they can do?
Yeah, I mean,
Just hire Hilary.
Just hire.
Or you, Ben, right? You do some coding training too, right?
I'll leave that to you. We have our hands full right now.
I mean, it is an investment in itself to do an audit. So if nothing else, if you have someone else that's doing insurance billing and coding, if you at least just have a weekly or monthly small little meeting with whoever your insurance processor is and ask to review denials and review some reports together, I think that's a great starting point, because then maybe you as a doctor will understand a little bit better why things are getting denied, or this is a biased opinion, but even more reason for you to get on a network.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I think that there are specific reports in every software system that they make it a lot easier to audit. So there's reports such as procedures not attached to claims or secondary claims not submitted. Certain systems will create reports where it shows if there was an insurance overpayment, which means basically that the sum of the insurance payment and the write-off exceeded what the patient was actually charged. So that's a great one to run. I always suggest for doctors to run an adjustment and write-off report, because you can usually quickly tell if there's some sort of odd adjustment that just doesn't make sense. Insurance write-off is never going to be $12.22. It just doesn't make sense why there'd be some odd cents. Yeah. And I also tell doctors to run an an insurance payment report, which usually you can get off like your day sheet or daily deposit. It will actually show what insurance claims were paid out at zero. So if a claim is paid out at zero, that means that there was probably a denial. And, if nothing else, you can at least be reviewing why insurance companies are denying payment. And, obviously sometimes it's a legit denial, for frequency limitations or something like that. But oftentimes there are fishy reasons, and you just need to do the appeal.
Yeah, I would look at this auditing process no differently than you look at your own credit card statements or bank statement, because I think everybody has the experience of something appearing on your credit card statement that you were double charged, like I was last night at the movie theater. $5 movie night, they charged me $25. I was like, what the heck? And sometimes a lot of people don't view those things. They're easy to solve and resolve, but when you look at the insurance department, for most practices, that's 90% of their revenue coming from insurance payments, and the unknown write-offs resulting from incorrectly coding, miscoding. I mean, it's in the thousands of dollars for many practices. So, Hilary, if a listener is interested in having you do an audit, what would it take for them to get started with that process?
At the very minimum, I'd be happy to send kind of my checklist to everyone who, would like to start there. I'm happy to do that to share my knowledge with that. And they can email me, and I'd be happy to assist them in the process of auditing or answer any sort of questions that they might have regarding some of the reports that they can run. So I'd be happy to share my email with you guys as well.
Cool. Yeah.
And listeners are welcome to contact me.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. What is that email?
It is Hilary, Hilary, at Provere, PROV as in Victor, EER, P as in Paul, M as in Mary.com. So it's Hilary with one L at proverepm.com.
Excellent.
Awesome.
We will post that in the show notes for those of you that may be driving, and that way you can just click on that from your iPhone or from your computer whenever you get to a safe place. But one thing that I'll throw out there is I love chatting with management consultants and coaches that have a pretty good grasp on insurance. One of the things that many, we have a long list of great management consultants that we work with, and most of them are excellent, very excellent at everything except for insurance. And they come to me,
which is
they
a
come
huge
to
part.
Bill Rossi, they come to Hilary, and we provide that support for them to make sure that they can get the assistance that they need, especially on these insurance areas. And I highly recommend Hilary. The other thing that I'll put in there is, a lot of people overlook this insurance audit or the auditing process, and it's never done in dental practices. And there's a fear of cost, of what it might cost to get a professional to come in. I will tell you that whatever the cost is, it is totally worth it to get this done, because I almost want to throw a guarantee out there that, but I'm going to be careful with that, is that every time I've seen an audit, there were thousands of dollars lost, left on the table, non-existent, that the insurance carrier is pocketing just as a result of not having a pretty good system in place. But once the audit is done and systems are put in place moving forward, you're saving yourself from the headache of doing all this great treatment and wondering why your total write-offs are in the 40% category. I mean, I talked to a doctor who's a friend of mine, North Carolina, last night. He's booked out till December. But he
Holy
says,
smokes.
Ben, I am booked out till December, but I am not making anything. I'm making zero. He's like, I feel like I am busting my butt. And gosh, I just feel so tempted to use bad words when talking. Yeah. I just
he's on that treadmill that just doesn't slow down and just keeps getting faster and faster.
Exactly.
And you just,
and you're stuck on this. You're stuck trying to keep up, and you don't know where you're bleeding. He doesn't know if he's being embezzled. He doesn't know if his team isn't billing correctly. He doesn't know. He doesn't know if claims are even being submitted. But all he knows is that he is performing more dentistry than he's getting paid for. If you're in that category,
that's too bad.
Email Hilary at proverepm.com. Hilary, any final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, insurance, there is a lot of negative feelings around insurance, but to me, it's just a lot of critical thinking and problem solving, and there are people out there that like to do that. And there's no reason that a doctor should be struggling at all. One of the best compliments that I've ever received is a doctor's wife actually said, after you guys came in and kind of helped figure out what was going wrong in the practice, I have noticed my husband has been more present at home because he isn't as stressed out.
Yep. That's important.
Yeah, and I think that, like you, Ben, and you, Jordan, there are ways to manage your practice better and more wisely, whether it's negotiating with insurance or getting rid of insurance completely. There are people out there to help you, and you shouldn't have to struggle. You should be doing what you were trained to do, is be a clinician, and that should be your motivator.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my final thought.
Very cool.
You don't have to live a horrible life.
Yeah. Love it.
Life can be a lot better. Hey, if Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers still need coaches, and every professional out there that even we, Jordan and I, we have mentors. We constantly go through education. But having somebody that is an expert in this area, and the great thing about you, Hilary, is this is not the only thing you do, but starting here and branching out into other areas, we highly recommend to all the listeners that they have somebody that's there to be a mentor, a coach, and a facilitator of putting these processes in place, auditing, and all this other great stuff. So, Hilary, thank you so much for being with us. This has been amazing.
Absolutely.
It's been enlightening.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I hope it helps.
I'm sure it will.
It really does. Well, hope you get some people reaching out to you asking questions. But folks, reach out to Hilary. She's been an awesome resource. Hilary, it's been great. Folks, this is Hilary Tien.
Thank you.